In this episode of the Grumpy Gits, we talk to the amazing David and Carrie Grant about parenting SEND kids and what it is to be a warrior parent. After Tommy Jessup's expose on the mortality rates of people with learning disabilities dying in care, we ask what's next and how can we change an inherently broken system. We hear from our partners at the Disability Expo and why this is a different show to any other disability event out there. All this and our usual favourites as Chris pitches Grumpy Git on Grumpy Git with some evil see you next Tuesday questions, and Dear Grumpy Gits examines the most uncomfortable sales demo of all time. So grab a drink, relax in your favourite armchair and laugh out loud with the Grumpy Gits, and remember, don't be grumpy alone. The Grumpy Gits are proudly partnered with the Disability Expo, being held at XL in London on the 6th and 7th of July 2023. It's going to be an incredible event, so follow the links in the description to sign up.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever in the world you are watching this, and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Grumpy Gits, the disability podcast coming crashing through your screen like the UK economy. Oh, lads, time-stamped it already. Boom. I am your glorious host on Kung Fu Panda, Adam Pearson, leading you through this bamboo zilling cavalcade, but I am not alone. Oh no, I am joined by three fantastic mammals. Coming up first, he's tall, he's handsome, his hair is slick. Imagine Gentle Ben, but a bit of a prick. Chris Lee Smith, how are you, my friend?
You fucker. Shit hit the fan this week, but...
What happened, good sir?
Oh, well, you obviously had Scottish Power turn around and saying that they're going to charge me $6,000 a year for my energy, which is atrocious. But
when you have those vibrators that you have, mate, they take a lot of power.
First, I haven't got any vibrators, and second,
yes,
if they were, they'd be battery powered. Okay.
They charge, yes.
No. But after everything that's happened, I'm actually in a good mood. Weirdly. I don't know what. I think something's blown in my head.
Crikey. Yeah, well, I want confetti, I want balloons, and I want Hooligan to celebrate playing in the background.
I'm just looking at the window to see if there are any pigs flying by.
Well, there was a full moon last night. That might have had something to do with it, you know.
Anything else? I can turn miserable again. I'm starting again, aren't I?
No, let's just stick with the happy Chris.
Well, you know, it's called the Grumpy Gits for a reason. If you're happy, there's no point in you being here.
I lead the charge in grumpiness. I admit that.
Don't tell me prayer don't work. Hell yeah!
You're a bit grizzly.
And the tumbleweed just goes by, Duncan.
Yeah. It's about time it was me, not you, Simon. So why are you happy, Chris?
No, I was waiting for Adam to move on.
I want to know why you're happy. You're not getting away with that.
I honestly can't tell you. Nothing has happened really. I just got up one day and I'm genuinely concerned that something's gone pop in my head. Like the stress levels have got so high that my mind has just gone boom. My grumpy fuse has blown.
Only took 37 years.
Oh, there we go.
39, which I hate to admit, but yeah, 39.
Oh, poor you.
Yeah.
My fucking heart bleeds.
Chris has had a stroke, let's all move on. And also, what's that I see over there? Is that Yogi making a hoagie? Crikey, what a palaver. He's cool, calm, calculated, and maybe a koala. Duncan Casburn, how are things, my friend?
I think you're looking for pavlova, not palaver. That's the Australian thing, is pavlova, yeah?
Don't ruin it.
A palaver means to do. Cracky! What a palaver that was.
Fair enough.
I'm trying to meet you where I was up all fucking morning writing these. Don't you dare take this away from me.
I'm so sorry. Dare be me for the contradict the comic genius of Adam Pearson. That'd be a real shame. I'm good, man. I'm good. I had a really good week. Met up with your good self in London for a few days.
It was great. It was great. Those pretzels.
Oh man,
Man.
that was like a religious awakening. Was pretzels topped with cheese and bacon. Simple, but then not little pretzels, big, proper pretzels. They were fantastic. The German beer may have helped to lubricate
it definitely
things.
Helped. Our creative meeting and our VAT invoice.
Yes, yeah, that's all been sent through. Simon should have them by now.
You want me to pay your beer bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was a business meeting. We were in creative discussion.
Wasn't authorised.
Did you authorise it, Adam? I did. I think that's two of us.
Yeah,
that's 50%.
Yeah. So, and how was the conference? You were at a conference, weren't you?
I was at the TESN conference. It was really good. I've got to say, I mean, turning serious for a second, seeing that many people working in education who had a passion for SEND inclusion was fantastic. For those who don't know, SEND is Special Educational Needs and Disability, and the whole conference was focused around adapting education to work so that it works for SEND kids. It was inspiring. Got to meet up with the fantastic David and Carrie Grant, who are going to be on the show later, so stick around for that. But yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, my friend, and I look forward to your musings as we move forward in the show. And finally, he's a qualified journalist who thinks he's funny. He's silky like blood and he's sweet like honey. Somewhere in Leicester, there's trouble brewing. Let's hope to God he's not Winnie the Poohing. Simon Sampson, how are you, my friend?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. I was a bit ill last week, but actually this week I'm having quite a good week. It's quite nice. I've gone back to university for a little while, which is quite nice.
Journalism?
To do what?
Yeah, De Montfort University are teaching me how to run a big business.
Nice.
So I thought that's quite nice. Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. It's really weird because my nephew and niece go to De Montfort University, and so I'm meeting up with them with breakfast every other day at university, which is really nice. But it's weird going to university with your nephew and niece, you know, because it feels like Josh is 20 years old, and like last week I was changing his nappies, and it's weird.
That's really weird. If he's 20 and you're changing his nappies, that's odd.
Yeah, it feels like it's like I was holding him in my arms like last week, and now he's at university. It's quite strange. It's not that he's 20 years old and I was changing him. No, it feels like it's gone really quick, the 20 years.
Oh, I'm glad you clarified that. That was sounding very bad.
He knew that. He knew it.
What was that clarifying, Duncan? It sounded to me like backpedaling.
Exactly. Yeah. He's going for PM next week. Liz Truss, watch out.
Yeah. In politics, they call it a U-turn. Anyway, glad we're all here, gentlemen. Let's get on with this misery business that is see you next Tuesday. Chris Lee Smith, how are you going to make us fight on this episode?
We're going weird again. One of the questions. Because, I enjoyed it, even if you guys didn't. So we'll start with question 1. From the score 1 to 10, 10 being the most, what score would you give your fellow Grumpy Gits on being most like a Tory? Let's start with Simon.
I mean, for me personally, I'm probably more like a Tory because I've worked with them before.
Another job. Can we get a list of the jobs Simon's had?
No, I don't mean that. I mean, I used to be an elected official years ago, and so it was a Tory-controlled council, so I had to work with a Tory thing. And I've got Tory friends, and all of them aren't that bad. The government is absolutely shambolic. But, you know, there are some good people in the Tory party. Would I vote for them now? Absolutely not. But I would put myself down as the most out of 4 of us, because I know Duncan and Chris, definitely not. Adam, definitely not. So out of all 4 of us, yeah, I would probably be more like the Tory, even though I would never vote for them for the next 20-odd years.
That's not answering the question.
He's not answering the question. Exactly the point, Chris. Exactly the point.
Myself,
That's a 10 out of 10 for Tory there.
He just rabbited on and said nothing in so many words.
Like, tell me you're a Tory without saying you're a Tory. Jesus, Simon.
Okay, let's move on. Duncan, you're next. Same question.
I think you're a 1. Quite clearly, that you're about as anti-Tory as they come. I think you're clearly a 1.
Yeah.
I think Adam's probably about a 4.
Ooh.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm probably about the same.
Okay.
And yeah, I think Simon's probably edging towards. He's got a lot of Tory traits there, isn't he? You got. You know, he's stuck somewhere 30 years ago. He can't work technology. That's about the level. He's loaded.
Yeah.
Although I am running a very successful tech firm at the moment, which is quite weird.
That's the definition of irony. That's not weird. That's just fucking ironic.
Yeah. Adam, same question.
So, I'm going to go ahead and give you a 1, Chris.
Thank you.
Even though I think that you may have at one point looked at porn at work, that's an outlier of Tory. So, giving you a 1.
It was only you on Pornhub. That's all he's looked at work.
Duncan, I'm going to give you a 3 because and myself a 3 because we did go out drinking and try and charge it to the company.
Yes.
If only it was during lockdown.
Yeah. I bet you I've got a receipt for a Kit Kat, haven't I? In my
it's absolutely there. And Simon, I'm gonna give you a 6 because I think you have it in you, but I think you also have people around you to say, "I wouldn't do that shit if I were you." That you listen to,
or just edit that out.
That works. Okay, let's move on to question 2. All your teeth have fallen out. Which
Duncan.
grumpy... Duncan? No, all of you. All of you. He's really got it in for you this time. All your teeth have fallen out. Which Grumpy Git would you choose to chew your food? Let's start with Duncan. I always pick you first on the weird question.
I choose you. You've got a hygiene levels.
Wait. I will add, there is like an attraction smidge to this, and I'll explain why. Because if I put, say, Jessica Alba on the list, who would you choose?
Absolutely, Jessica Alba.
Yeah, exactly. So there is an attraction smidge to this. So who would you choose?
Well, removing attraction altogether, quite frankly. Simply the fact that your hygiene levels are just up here. He cleans his teeth 12 times a day. He showers 6 times a day. He wears, mascara and face packs and all kinds of shit. You are clearly the one that's... I'm going to get the less viral discharge from you chewing my food than anybody else.
Okay. All right, let's go with Adam next.
I choose death. I choose starvation.
No, death is not an option. You have to choose one of us.
Oh, mate! When you said it was weird, I really thought it was gonna be like, ooh, Batman and Superman and you in a human centipede. Where are you going? Even by your standards, this is weird.
Next episode. Come on, who's chewing it, putting it on a spoon, and then feeding it to you?
Where does he come up with this shit?
So you're not.
That's an addition. Sorry, that's off the top of my head.
You're not like baby. You're not baby burning it into my mouth.
I don't know.
Have you heard of the snowball app?
Do I get to pick what I eat, or do I just have to have what you're having?
Let's call it vegetables. It's broccoli, carrots, and cauliflower.
Oh, mate. Too soon. Way too soon.
Who's chewing it and giving it to you on a spoon?
He's walked off. It's been done, mate. I did that last week.
Oh my God.
Did that last episode.
You rolled off, I walked off. Two different things. To quote Eric Cartman, fuck you guys. I'm picking Duncan. I reckon he'd make the bigger deal of it. I reckon there'd be like a silent agreement that we don't talk while it's happening.
And this never gets spoken of again.
Whereas I reckon someone would try and make small talk throughout the whole thing, and you just be a complete dick about it. So,
I'd spit it in your mouth.
You would, yeah. Whereas I'm picking Duncan. I reckon it's the path of the least resistance.
I think he's more likely to make the aeroplane noises than anybody else here. So yeah, let's
and you know what? I'm into that. I'll be there.
I knew you would be.
Full of cauliflower, half erect. I'm in.
Right, Simon, same question. You have to pick one of us before you try and twist it into saying your wife or someone else.
No, I'll just put it in a blender and go, fuck you all.
Blender is not a grumpy git. You have to choose one of us.
Well, I can put one of you in a blender. Well, no, because there's also, if Wiltshire Farm Foods want to come on the show and advertise that they do chewless food as well, which you can order quite easily from their website, I'll happily do that as well.
No, there's a budget. We can't afford chewless food, so we have to feed you, okay? We have to feed you.
We're on school
under no circumstances, under no circumstances whatsoever would I allow any of you to chew my food. I would have a tube down my throat first.
Can I change my answer to the first question and give Simon a 9?
I think we should. Tory boy doesn't want anybody to chew his food for him.
There are always alternatives.
There is not when it comes to these questions. Pick one, or all three of us are chewing it first and putting it in your mouth.
We'll go down a line. There'll be like a conveyor belt.
Who are you choosing, Simon? Pick one.
How big's the cauliflower? Because surely you must choke on it as well.
Well, apparently it's a great substitute for chicken.
Fuck's sake.
Adam, where did you come on MasterChef again?
Technically seconds, I don't remember. It was a while ago.
Right, let's move on.
I lost to the winner, so technically second.
Let's move on to question 3. From 1 to 4 in the Grumpy Gits, who is most likely and least likely to save a woman and child, putting their own life in extreme danger? Let's start with Adam.
Okay. I have a question.
Go on.
Is the building they're in wheelchair accessible?
Yes, it is. Yes, no, because we want to be inclusive assignment, so it is wheelchair accessible.
We do. Okay, cool.
So let's say the building's on fire, but these are fireproof, so that Simon could get into the building.
Okay, and outside on Snowball, where would it be? Like, how accessible?
Let's
we don't
say
do 1 to 5. It's very accessible or fully accessible.
It's very accessible, okay?
Okay, cool. So Simon can get in there and do the business. Cool.
Yes.
Okay, Simon Force.
There's questions. Okay. Who's third?
Oh, me third. Just sitting, even if there wasn't any smoke, I still have to feel my way around for shit. So I'll be there going, hello! And accidentally knock her out and be like, oh well, I tried. Then you and Duncan won.
Okay. Right, let's go on to Simon next.
I have actually saved people from a burning building.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Of course you fucking have. Jesus.
Was this before
If this is a
or after
doll's
you
house-
lived in a mini?
Oh, God. Right, go on. Give us the list.
Don't you want to hear the story?
No,
I...
no,
It's
go
a-
on.
It's
If
a
it's
great
good,
story.
if it's good, we'll keep it in. If
Right,
it's not...
So we were at Leicester University, okay, in halls of residence, okay, and Bubba, who was my housemate, came to knock on my door and said, "Simon, there's smoke coming out of a window in a building across the road, okay, on the student accommodation." You know, it was night time. It was like 12 o'clock at night, so I got my dressing gown on, went over there, and there was a huge amount of smoke coming out of this student block. So anyway, literally, and this is not an exaggeration, I went in, saw the smoke, smashed the door in, went up there, and there was a bloke who was a student who was actually passed out in the kitchen on the table. And what he'd done is come in absolutely pissed out of his face, put a burger on, yeah, and left it for so long that the actual kitchen was on fire. Yeah? So obviously pressed the fire alarm, carried him out, and the fire brigade got called and had one of those masks for smoke inhalation in your face.
So you carried
That's
a
where the
drunk
mask
bloke
tends
out.
to go. That's true.
I wouldn't say I carried him over my shoulder. I kind of picked him up and slapped him in the face a bit. You know, wake up, you stupid bastard! You set the house on fire.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
what I'm hearing is you broke into someone's house,
Yeah,
Slapped him in the face.
assaulted
Slapped
them,
a drunk guy.
and left.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
That they should make a movie about that, I think.
it was heroic.
Okay, right. Can you answer the question that was asked, please?
Of course you fucking can't.
I'm sick of this game.
Oh, I think Duncan's got him to be brave. Adam would just run a mile. But, you know, Chris, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what you'd do, actually. I think you'd panic.
I'd panic. I'm
You'd
the
panic.
coolest-headed one out of all four of us.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
under-
like
I
praising myself.
I think under pressure, I think you'd crack.
No, not a chance. We can put this to the test when I come down to yours in December.
That's right. So what we're going to do is when we're there, we're going to set fire to your house and see what Chris does.
I'm gonna burn some toast. I'm gonna slap you in the face, and then I'm gonna run. Okay, Duncan, same question.
I actually think Simon would be first up there as long as he's got a camera and can film it. That'll be the next viral video from Simon Sanson, and that will go on there. I think that's going to happen. I think you would, Chris. I actually think you're a bit of you've got a bit of a soft spot for anybody in need, and you reach out and you do that. I think you'd be high
I
up
will
there.
tell you. Once I was in my flat and I looked out the window, and a rat ran across the road, and a car came along and squished the bottom half of it. And honestly, that gave me nightmares for ages. I can't, into the pain it must have been going through, the empathy. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to hold back. I'd have to go in, even if it
Especially
meant
when
me
it's
dying.
relative like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, just a rat. It just freaked me out.
I could imagine Chris trying to give the rat CPR.
I ran away. I just couldn't. It was too much. It was his little legs were going. I know it was kind of like spasming, and I was like, no, fuck that. I can't.
How do we make this as like a mental leap? Kind of, you see a building on fire, who's going to run in to save them, and we've gotten to, I saw a rat get run over once.
It's the link is the empathy side. That's what I'm getting at, because I won't have a choice. Being empathy, I would have to go in. I wouldn't be able to live with
that's
myself.
What I mean. I think you've got that.
Oh, this is like a really fucked up version of Only Connect. It really is.
It is. And that was a very, very different See You Next Tuesday.
Now, everyone's got problems. To quote the song, you've got problems, I've got them too. So give yours to me, and maybe I'll give mine to you. Duncan, what soul are we saving this week?
I have promised genuinely to keep this one anonymous this week, so I'm respecting that. So Jade, please understand, I won't mention you at all.
Good.
Understood.
Where was I coming in the rescuing from a fire again? I can't remember. Dear Grumpy Gits, my passion for disability-related services and products started 13 years ago when I worked for a company that provided vacuum molding supports and assistive technology devices that are used to stabilise posture and deliver independence for a wide range of aspects of daily living. Getting into the role and wanting to prove myself, I put myself forward for just about anything. I wanted to learn as much as I could and help as many people as possible. I had spent the past 2 days at an event in Birmingham, improving my sales pitch for face-to-face demonstrations and assessments, and I was asked to deliver a product demonstration the following morning, which I might add was a Saturday, in Brighton, to a team of occupational therapists. Upon arrival, I had a haul of boxes of pillows and other equipment into a hall, where there was already a company delivering a presentation on sex and relationships to address the OT's role in what support should be delivered, including the knowledge on legalised sex workers, etc. Being only 21 and with a limited industry experience, as well as the topic of interest, I sat and listened to the presentation, which I found really eye-opening and interesting. It was already good to see how open and forward-thinking the occupational therapists were. I also admired the way the lady presented with confidence on such an important but personal topic. After the presentation and the round of applause that the presenter received, I was up next, with my little blue cushions complete with squeaky, pump and robotic arm supports. However, I was only then informed that the training day agenda was all around accessibility and fulfillment of sex and relationships, and I could follow on the topic with my range of accessible equipment, inverted commas. For the next hour, and I had to think completely outside the box by moulding therapists into all sorts of suggestive positions, trying to keep them in their desired position by physically mounting them and having to vacuum the air out of the support, which was accomplished by using a foot pump which delivered a sound effect of a squeaky bed frame. If practically try humping a group of professionals wasn't enough to shame, I was then asked to set up the mobile arm supports and advise on how these could be used within foreplay and masturbation. or without training or the expertise or salary to reflect my efforts. I will never get the image out of my head of a group of health professionals in sexual positions and their suggestive hand movements to make the suitability of achieving self-sex. Safe to say, I left my demonstration red-faced and a little flustered, to say the least. My question to the Grumpy Gits is this. From all I've learned in that hour has stuck with me now, and I'm more mature and understanding, and I do genuinely see the importance of the topic. How important do you think access to sex, desire and relationships is? And do you think we should have a sex ed style theatre with these sorts of questions advised by professionals and or the people of lived experience that actually knows what they are talking about? Maybe best volunteer Simon, bad in bed pun. Yours sincerely, Jade. Sorry, not Jade. It was anonymous. I apologise.
Oh, crikey. Do you think she wanted advice, or do you think she's just, bragging a little bit? I'm going to go try to find that online as soon as we finish recording.
Well, I actually think with Disability Expo, sex and disability does go hand in hand. Obviously, disabled people do have a sex life. So on a serious note, I would love to see a sex stand or advice stand or something at Disability Expo
So
next
I wasn't
year.
laughing at you, Simon. I was laughing at Adam going...
Yeah, but Adam will charge.
Goddamn right I would. I charge my girlfriend. How much are you going to charge a stranger?
Did you note that he labelled himself as a panda? After all his panda innuendo in the last bunch of episodes, Adam labelled himself the panda in the intro to all this.
I could actually see Adam setting up a kissing booth at a Disability Expo.
Oh, fuck.
If we're lucky, kissing. Or kissing what? Kiss the elephant.
Happen,
Here's the trunk.
Yeah. Let's talk about sex, baby. You, me, and ATC. Sorry. Sponsors.
I do love in that story the fact that they didn't tell her it was all related to sex and relationships until she was up for a demonstration, and then had to adapt everything to kind of fit.
It does sound like Impractical Jokers a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you know there was someone behind the scenes just laughing their asses off at that whole thing.
I wonder if that training course was actually recorded.
Probably. That you'll have.
Because that would be interesting to watch.
It will.
You got a little thing for Jade there, Simon.
What, seeing Jade in all different sexual positions? Sorry, Jade, but I'm married.
That's right. He'll only consider sex if he's with a group of 3 women. Flashback to that episode.
Simon's bad in bed. We'll see about that.
It's been a long time since I've had a threesome or more. Oh, those are the days.
Videos.
Oh, jeez. Genuinely, to get back to the question, I think it really is important it gets discussed. I think often the disabled community is infantilized, and with that comes being desexualized. And it is something that we need to talk about more. Because, spoiler, disabled people do like to fuck.
Yeah, Adam, you tell us every week, mate. We know.
I can't stress enough how important it is. At this point, it's a hobby.
It's
almost a profession for you, mate. Let's face it.
I am on the P-Hub. I
agree. I think it's a really important thing to actually open up. I mean, we had that interview a good few episodes ago now, but about the act going through Parliament with criminalisation of sex workers and how disabled people, of course they do. They're human beings. It's a human right and joy. Why? It drives me nuts that this stuff kind of gets overlooked.
I don't know how to follow up. We all know I like it. We all know I'm good at it. Duncan's way down.
Well, we don't. No, we don't. You mean for all we know, you could be bad in bed.
I could am amazing. One time, she whose name we're not going to say on this episode, like the last one, lost her security deposit because we broke the headboard.
You had a security deposit on a bed.
On the place. Like,
they just look at you selling it and went, "Oh, you're not having that without an extra. We need some warranty on this."
I mean, what were you doing with your Lego set on the bed anyway?
Oh, wouldn't you like to know?
The things you can make out of Lego.
Sometimes, Simon, I don't follow the instructions. Everything fits if you're a hero. Anyway.
Everything is awesome.
I can imagine Adam going to A&E with Lego up his arse.
just clench.
And be one of the...
I think he's built a vagina out of Lego. That's what he's going to do, like a Lego fleshlight.
And it would be one of those X-ways where all the bricks are starting breaking away. It'll be like Tetris in Adam's
spit roasted by Lego.
My mum watches this. Just so we all know.
She also watched Under the Skin, so don't go there.
Under the Skin and My Anus are both masterpieces, and I will not have them besmirched on this show.
So does that make you a master builder?
Remember a week ago when didn't we have a disability podcast like, I don't know, a week ago? Fucking hell. I genuinely hate this segment so much. Every week it's all let's read a letter and shit on Adam. Oh no, wait, let's maybe answer the question the person's asked. Who knows? Life's the lottery. Let's be lucky.
I do like it how we went from sex advice to like Lego being shoved up Adam's arse and then playing Tetris all the way down, on an X-ray. Mate, who said this show isn't diverse?
Mate, that live episode is going to suck. You might not see me in December.
I think that's all. I think that's Dear Grumpy Gits for this week.
Yeah, Jade, we really hope that answered your question. It didn't. Coming up now, we have one of our fabulous interviews. Mr. Duncan Casburn had the immense pleasure of talking to Dave and Carrie Grant of Same Academy fame. I know, showing my age. Don't care. Just don't care. Duncan, what did you talk to Dave and Carrie about?
Well, it was myself and Chris, and I had the pleasure of meeting properly David and Carrie over the last couple of days at the TESN show. But before that, Chris and I had a chance to catch up with Dave and Carrie and actually ask them about their role as Sen parents and what they've labelled themselves as warrior parents. And it was one of the most entertaining and interesting interviews when you hear about what they have experienced in their life and the adjustments they've made. And really what came out is just the total love and respect they have for their kids, regardless of who they are, what they are, how they are, whatever. It was just a really fantastic, eye-opening look at life as a Sen parent and life as a parent of people who are just, not fitting the day-to-day that we expect in this very typical world.
So let's go to Duncan and Chris in the past in 3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Adam. And yes, we are here with the fantastic David and Carrie Grant. Guys, how are you doing?
We're good.
We're great. So glad to be here.
Yeah.
So do you want to just tell us a bit about your story?
So we have been married for 34 years. 34 years, and we have 4 children, 3 birth children, 1 adopted child, and they are a whole host of different neurodivergences. They're incredible. We went from thinking, okay, this is how we're going to parent. We'll probably have 2 children and we're going to sit in restaurants and it's all lovely. And my children will not be on an iPad. They will be concentrating on the lovely discussion.
And everybody will look and say, now that's how you raise children. That's a fact.
Yeah. It's amazing. I had the same thing. I used to mentally critique every other parent. How can you allow that to happen? Yes. That's ridiculous. And I had some friends in Australia who had an autistic son, and I just think, geez, they go on about it, don't they? It can't be that bad. God has a sense of humour, clearly.
Like most dreams, that one fell apart on its first contact with reality.
Yes. So that was not the family that we've ended up with. Thank God we haven't, actually, because the family we've got is just incredible.
Yeah.
But it isn't without its hilarity and challenges and inspiration and terror at times. It's a bit more like this, parenting journey and us growing. I mean, yes. I feel like we could have done like the neurotypical pathway and just kind of rocked along as regular parents, and that would have been fine, but we wouldn't have learned all that we've learned, and we wouldn't be or have become who we are as people, as humans. The journey of parenthood is extraordinary. If you can keep finding hope, and you can keep making that journey up again, because sometimes you have really difficult lows. What we're learning in that space is wonderful. That's the stuff that you then are able to use for campaigning and writing books and helping other people and, you know, all of that stuff.
Obviously, you two, you've had a long career. How have you managed to find a balance between parenting and working at the same time? Because it's not really 9 to 5, is it? And have you had much support with what you do as well?
On the balance side, I think that we decided at one point that we needed to almost job share. You know, there was a point in our career where it was going that way, and it was the two of us working together and the two of us really making strides together, and everything that we did was kind of Carrie and David. And then we had a collision with reality, and reality wins, which means that one of us pretty much had to be there the whole time. Even before we met each other, we've both been really ambitious for our careers and both wanting to achieve something. Then when you have a life in your hands and you have somebody who doesn't just depend on you in the way that children depend on you, but anybody who's listening to this who has an SEN kid will know that sometimes that dependency is a matter of life and death. Yeah. The ambitions actually get put on ice. They become totally irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
Our careers, in many ways, we stopped having career plans and started basically going into survival plans sometimes. and that's where we've been pretty much ever since.
I think in some ways, actually, if you have a job our job is, in some ways, it's inflexible, because if you've got a TV show, it's going to go out at that same time every week and you have to be there. But sometimes those things, like our radio show that we do, we're off air. We do Saturday mornings breakfast show on Radio London. We're done by 10 a.m. We're home at 11. So our kids are they're teens now, so they're kind of just getting out of bed at that point. So, you know, they don't even...
If they've been up all night on the PlayStation, they're getting into bed at that point, yeah.
They don't know that we do a radio show. Wow. They think they're still in bed. But in terms of support, I think this is such a good question. Because I think when our children were younger, we could invite half a dozen friends who were they were TAs in schools, or they you know, understood children and could deal with different challenging behaviours. But then I think when our children got into their teens and the issues became, you know, we had a child on suicide watch for pretty much 3 years, on and off, in and out of hospital, and then it becomes really difficult, because you've got a child in hospital, first of all, so they're not even in the same location. Yeah. So then that support even becomes difficult, because that child doesn't want anyone but a parent there.
No. And we used to tag team at that point.
The impact of having a child who may not live impacted us and impacted the other children. So then their behaviours that change, they're more anxious, so they're more likely to have more, you know, difficulties. And then if you've got a child who's violent, which we've had, yeah, to say one childminder can come along, you know, one of my mates is going to come and help for a few hours. It just became, we had a circle of one. That one person has been able to help us, and that person is just like gold to us. They really are. And, you know, I guess we're all looking, as parents, aren't we? We're all looking for that one person that we can go, I'm really desperate. Could you just help me out here? That's why I really feel for anyone that is raising children that is doing that on their own, lone parents. Like our parents were both lone parents, but we were fairly straightforward children, or we thought we were. But that's why we started our parent support group, which grew from like 10 families to over 180 families. We've been doing it for 10 years now, but that group, even if we're not childminding for one another, just being able to say, are you finding this hard? Because I'm feeling like I'm at the end of my rope.
It's the question that's so rarely asked. I talked about this before. It's that thing where rightfully everything's focused on the individual who's, you know, so in this case, child, they're in hospital, they're on suicide watch, and everybody's focused on that. It's very rare does the question get asked, are you okay in all this? How can you be supported? Because support goes beyond just support for the individual. There's a group of people generally around. And what you're saying about finding someone who is your circle like that, we've been having this struggle. I've got to go to an award ceremony in a few weeks, and trying to find someone who can take care of our kids. People don't realize, I think, is that when you've got a neurodivergent child, especially if they have the behaviors that challenge, if they're in that situation where, at the flick of a switch, they can go from appearing very calm, very sedate to She-Hulk in our situation, and unless you've got somebody who understands that and has worked with that and lives with or understands it from the inside, you're scared to leave a child with anybody else.
And the other thing as well, of course, Duncan, is that you both understand this, that you want to leave your child with somebody who, A, gets it, and B, isn't a judge. Because, like 90% of the people you meet who do not have anything to do with SEN or neurodivergent children know exactly how to raise your child. If you only did this, if you only did that, have you tried this? Maybe you should do less of this. And
drive-by parenting, I call it.
Everybody needs, who's walking the walk that we walk together, needs a space or a person with whom they can describe without having to explain.
Yeah.
For me, there was a trust issue as well, which I think I've carried around. I haven't got a one person. I haven't got a parent that's either A, close by, or would be able to handle my son in a meltdown. And I think it's partly because of my trust issue as well. I'm not saying that someone couldn't look after my son, but it's just that if something happened in my head, it's not worth the risk for me.
What does happen is that after a while, you don't even look for it. So we are actually, as parents, I'm not speaking for all parents, honestly, but many of us don't need the strategies. We don't need someone to tell us how to do it or to jump in and helicopter in and do it for us. We just need someone to hear us.
Yeah.
I just need someone to go, wow, you've got a child on suicide watch. I went through that, or that must be really hard. You don't need to solve my problem. I'm not asking you to solve it. It's unsolvable right now. So don't try to solve it. Just sit with me in it. Because when you sit with me in it, I feel that empathy and that makes me feel better. So I think that's why, for me, a support group or even a support friend, I have 2 friends I go dog walking with. We've all got similar children. So that really helps. And I don't need someone to childmind then. I just need to be heard. Because often, the thing that disappears is our own voice. So to try and find that agency for ourselves, we're so busy advocating for our children. Hello, we're still here. I'm still here. I'm not just called mum. I'm actually Carrie. And those things are really important to try and recapture and trying to hold on to that. That's worth fighting for, because that is your sanity. And that is eventually our children will grow older and we will get a little bit more independence back. And I still want to have some sense of who I am by then.
I think something else that you guys are doing really well, and this is something that I think needs to be addressed more in all parenting communities, is that you seem very united. And I think whether you're a single parent or who's got, father or the mother in the picture somewhere else, or if you are in your situation, 30 years married, the united front with parenting, I think, makes such a difference with how our kids are able to respond. And they see that. My daughter's adept at playing things off each other. So we went through a period where it was very disjointed, and Mummy said this. Really? I said she couldn't do that. She told me you said you could. Well, we'd have an argument and realized after a short while,
you've been playing
engineering this.
You've been playing. Yeah.
She's doing the Michael Jackson thing and just eating popcorn watching. And you guys do that really well. Is that something that you've done consciously, or is it something that has come about organically?
Both organically and with a realization that this isn't working. We need to find a different way. And we're always analyzing our own parenting and our own strategizing. And, we're always sort of like debriefing as well. How did that go? Was that right? Why did that? Well, why was that a tragedy? I went in sort of like offering an olive branch and the whole house got bombed. What happened to there? What did I do wrong? I think, like all parents with neurodivergent children, you devise a number of ways, and sometimes on the fly. There's a phrase that I use with Carrie that I went through a whole period of my life where I felt like every time I found an answer to the question, they changed the question. And we are constantly saying to one another, could that have been done differently?
I have to say, I think David is being very sweet. I think we had a number of years where it was hell.
Yeah.
And I would say that was because our relationship was fine, but the minute we started talking about parenting, we were on completely different pages. David was like,
different
we
continents.
need to
Mars, Venus, that whole thing.
we were orbiting totally different planets at one point. And I think that was because I shifted very quickly. I went, okay, these children, it's not going to work this. Okay, quickly, let's just get some new ideas. And David was like, no, children need consistency. This is how we chose to parent. This is what we're going to do. And so, I mean, that's sort of probably an exaggeration, but that's the pages we were on. So that would end up with me going, but maybe we could try it like this to begin with. David was like, no, we're sticking to this. Till eventually my thing became in front of the kids. Why are you doing it like that? So I was doing wrong. David was doing wrong. I felt like I wasn't being heard. David felt like he wasn't being heard. So I think it was probably about 2 years. We've struggled to find that same place.
And it was 2 years in which every disconnect we had was around the kids. I'm to blame for that. I had a very set idea of what parenting was. And while Carrie had recognized that we needed a change, I was still in a mindset that said, no, if we keep doing this for long enough, they'll change. Carrie had a phrase that she once used in conversation that really I should have taken on board, where somebody said, your kid's better now. And Carrie said, well, I don't know what you mean. They're still autistic. And it's just like, they're going to change. I'm going to wake up one morning and they are going to be different.
They're not sick.
I mean? They're not sick. They're not going to recover because there's nothing to recover from. So I need to change.
How has your children changed you, personality-wise?
Wow, that's such a good question. In so many ways, for me, I would say that, like arrowed prayer, God, change my situation. This is so hard. I can't go on like this. I can't keep going to drop my child off at school and then all the parents are talking about SATs results and getting tutors in to help them with their SATs. And I'm just thinking, please keep drawing breath. Please just live. And after a while, my arrowed prayers changed to change me because this situation may not change. And I don't even know the outcome of this situation, but I do know the one thing I do have control of, the one thing I have autonomy over is myself. That attitude that I found in that space of changing me, but not for negative, not to become something less than, not to become a victim, not to become like I'm such a crushed human, but actually how do I do it well? I can't even tell you how much that changed me. It changed me entirely. It changed all my reasons, for all my purpose in life.
Having the children that we have has changed me, but changed me for the better. There are things that I know I wouldn't know. There are ways that I see the world and understand the world that I would never have bothered to learn because I wouldn't have had to. But
like me, a full head of hair before all this.
I'm the same, man. I'm the same. Look at me. It's like, look, I'm 23. It's like, that's how much has changed me.
It's embracing that change and embracing the differences, but you've had to experience that in so many ways because your son, Tylen, is he the first trans and first autistic person on Hollyoaks?
Yeah, so the first autistic person of colour on telly ever playing an autistic character. So, yeah, broke ground. I think, our children have so many intersections. So Ty is autistic, mixed race, trans, queer. So all of those things, all of them are firsts. What we're really saying was there was one white man who was autistic that played an autistic character. So apart from that one white man, Ty's the first in everything. Yeah.
What I love there is that you've embraced it, but you've encouraged them to take this sort of attitude out into the world. So whether it's been a deliberate thing or an organic thing, they're taking the message out there of diversity and difference and making something different.
Yeah.
We've tried to encourage our children to discover who they are and to help in that journey. Quite consciously and intentionally or inadvertently, we help or we hinder our children from discovering who they are. This links in with the last question as well. Part of the drive and the desire in me, certainly, to help them discover who they are began to arise at the point where I stopped feeling as though I needed to try and tell them who I wanted them to be. I was able to begin to encourage them to discover who they actually are.
That leads me to my last question, which was, you labelled yourself warrior parents. What point did you come to that you thought, we are this? This is how we become warrior parents. And how did that display itself in the decisions you made from there?
No one labels themselves a warrior parent. You become. The label visits you.
That scared me a little bit when you said that.
I'd love to be one of those warrior parents because they really have a great life. I don't know.
At the point that you have to start standing up for your child, you're a warrior parent. At the point that you know you're walking a walk that other parents aren't walking and it's misunderstood, even by your closest family sometimes, you become a warrior parent. At the point that you have to start facing up to the authorities, the local authority, the school teachers, the school head, you become a warrior parent. At the time that you have to fight to try and get the required support, the necessary support, the reasonable adjustments made on behalf of your child so they're on a level playing field with anyone else, you become a warrior parent.
And I think that's what I'm getting at, is that idea that I think a lot of people are warrior parents but don't realise it. We've got an army out there.
There's an army of warrior parents.
I don't know they're an army yet.
They are. Yes, please push this door. This is great because there are no parents as good as SEND parents. Let me tell you that. They are the most amazing parents. They are the ones everyone, the neurotypical parents should be turning to and going, what is it you're doing there? Because this is off my grid. You are amazing. They're extraordinary people. Yeah. And in our group, when we meet, I'm always like, I glean so much from these people because they come up with ideas and strategies and they've had to work their stuff out. So yes, and yes, let's keep pushing that button and go, if enough of us raised our voices, there's probably a big majority happening out here. There's a lot of people who are fighting this fight out here. Yeah. So let's put our voices together and get some change happening.
There are platoons and regiments of warrior parents who have yet to be mobilized because they think they're the only ones.
They're on their own.
That's the biggest thing, isn't it? There's this, you feel isolated, you feel alone. And yet there's hashtag send warrior parents.
There's no one that pushes their limits harder than a send parent. Yeah. They feel that they've hit the limit and they go further and they do this on a regular basis.
100%. Yeah. Let's praise SEN parents. Well done.
Hey.
Yeah.
Our love goes out to
SEN parents.
David, Carrie, I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. This has been an extraordinary conversation, and I hope it resonates with a lot of people.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome, and thank you. We will head back over to the main podcast now, so handing back to Adam.
And here we are back in the future with the Grumpy Gits. Now, as some of you may know, we have acquired a new sponsor here in the Grumpy Grotto, and myself and Chris thought it was time to sit down with them and get to know them better. All of us to get to know them better. Is that not right, Mr. Chris Lee Smith?
Yeah, we had the pleasure to sit down with Kat and Jade, who you might remember from Duncan's segment. Or Anonymous Jade. Isn't that right?
Oh, totally. It's anonymous. It's anonymous.
Yeah, so we had the pleasure to sit down and ask them a few questions about what Disability Expo bring and what it's all about. And we thoroughly enjoyed it.
So take it away, past Adam and past Chris. Boom.
Yep, thanks, Adam. Here we are. And as you can see, as Adam Pearce and myself, I've aged terribly over the last couple of days. Actually, Adam couldn't make it to this, and we knew he'd hand it over in this way, so we had to make some adjustments. But we're here with the fantastic Kat and Jade from the Disability Expo. How are you guys?
It's really well, thank you. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Obviously, we've got this amazing partnership that we've established, and we're really behind you guys. And one of the reasons for that is that we really found this really solid alignment of our core beliefs. And I guess, can you tell me a bit about that? What are the core beliefs of the Disability Expo?
Disability Expo for us is all about putting the I in disability and deliver an event that is going to feel meaningful and person-centred to each and every delegate that comes along. So we're not just another disability event. Through our ongoing I Matter movement, we want to bring everyone in the disability community together and provide a platform for positivity and bringing about real change. People within our team have both personal and commercial experiences and working relationships with leading organisations like health and social care, charities and equipment manufacturers themselves. So that gives us a good understanding of both our audience and our potential exhibitors and companies.
What is the difference between you as a business and, because to me, you're not really a business. This is actually a real passion piece you guys are doing.
Our whole business has grown organically. Literally, me and my partner that set this up. We're not this massive corporate company. We're doing it for personal reasons. Obviously, we want it to be financially sustainable and obviously be able to have like a living salary and stuff from it. We have forgone that loads of times, many times, to be able to pay bills and salaries for other events that we've put on. We've forgone our own salary before losing or dropping out sort of thing. So there has been a massive fight in it. We're delivering this to be like an event for everyone and to give something back. So it is almost like a community interest type project where we're not a massive team. I don't want that to look like we're any less professional. We're probably more hardworking, but I mean, we're a team of 7. We have been a team of a lot less. It's even been myself and Alan on our own at some point. It's grown organically and it's something that we desperately want to deliver to make change. It's not about...
It's for the community. You're actually doing this because you've got a passion and drive behind the community.
If ever there was massive profits put in, we've always got other things that lined up where we want to give back and do things. So, for example, if the event gets to a point where it makes masses of money, we want to look into giving some kind of service funding for adults for disability equipment, because there isn't any. There's loads of routes to funding for children's services, but nowhere near as much for adults. We also want to try and start doing some product giveaways for this year's event and for people to be able to win products and prizes as well.
That's fantastic. As I say, that's the reason we wanted to be involved, because we're singing from the same hymn sheet. It's all about inclusivity. And I guess it comes back to those words that we used. Inclusivity is just so important.
If you had to break down the Expo into core components, what 3 words would best describe it?
Celebratory, inclusive and fun.
We have about 10 of them, but Kat chose the top 3 that we like.
How are you moulding those things into the experience?
Celebratory comes in because our event will take place at the start of Disability Pride Month. And as we've already mentioned, we don't want it to just be an event, but we want that to be sort of the headline event of Disability Pride Month and really kick off that celebration. We don't want anyone to feel excluded from the community or the event.
Just trying to look at all aspects of inclusivity and access issues. Also, we're making sure that the event is fully accessible from all aspects and ranges of disability.
So
what about fun? Tell us about fun.
Well, a lot of events can feel very corporate and it can just feel like an exhibition, but we want, for all of the different things going on, whether that's performances or even just being able to take a break in our sensory zone, we don't want it to feel like a really corporate, very structured, very formal event.
So having discussed those 3 words, the most important words to you, what are you hoping for attendees? What's the experience that they're going to get? What are they going to take away from the event?
We really want that to be the headline of Disability Pride Month. So it's not just a 2-day event for us, but a year-long drive to bring everyone in the community together. And we hope that our delegates will come away not just having a great day, but feeling seen, feeling heard, and a part of something bigger. As far as what we'll take away as well, is we want to take the information that comes up in, for example, our people's panels, not just have them shared on the day and everyone goes home and forgets about them.
What are other people's panels?
The people's panel is going to be a forum-style theatre, conference theatre, where we will discuss certain topics. We will put it to our community because we want them to be a huge part of what's discussed at the event. We just recently got Eva Abley, who was on Britain's Got Talent.
Yes, we've interviewed Eva. She is awesome. I love Eva Abley. She's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we can't wait to have her on there. And it's just about having as many different diverse people on that panel so that they can
Do a true
spokesperson.
representation.
I've seen some of the announcements popping up on Facebook and Twitter of the people that you've got on these people's panels, and they are awesome people.
One thing that we actually want to do and take from the event is some of the addressed issues that will come up in the panel. We're hoping to obviously live record them and take notes and that from them, and actually have somewhere to take this information to and try and create a cause or like identify certain issues. And we have got, is it Celia Pensmith, isn't it? Who said that she can help us with any kind of political agendas or change and things like that to actually submit evidence or issues as well with regards to that side of things.
There seems to be quite a lot of these type of events of various different sizes. What makes Disability Expo stand out from the crowd?
I would disagree slightly to say that there's lots of these disability events around. I would say that there's a lot of trade shows with people selling products of disability equipment or a specific topic. So, for example, I went to a really great event on Friday that was around education, special education needs. That is a sector.
Fantastic speakers at that event, I've heard.
Yeah, there was a really good one around masking, I think. A really good one. So obviously that's a great event. It's needed and it's niche. What we're kind of doing in a different way, it is a trade show in theory, like there will be people that are exhibiting, but that's not the core purpose of the event. So we will actually bring facilities to the event that are going to help and support. So there will be multiple charity networks and services available. We're actually providing our own services at the event for things like we know that the waiting list for health professional assessments, so like occupational therapy assessments, is months. So we will have like core services available for like potentially an OT assessment, potentially some like private moving and handling advice, having a look at people's products with what they've got. Is that sustainable as it is? Do they need a new wheelchair, or can certain adaptations be done at a more affordable rate? Where can you get this product funded? What is affordable for people? So we take that next step and look into that side of it from an exhibition perspective.
So you're really making the disability voice heard.
Yeah, and another thing that we're doing that's different, a peeve of mine for a long period of time, is that we're really trying to fight and campaign for inclusive branding for corporate companies. Well, let's start off with manufacturers that actually provide products for disabled people. It's always represented that disability products would be related to the elderly and ageing population. So if you're a 20-year-old that's just been diagnosed with something and need to go and resource and find equipment and services that you need, if you go into an event and see elderly people that are getting in and out of bed, like profiling beds or wheelchairs, etc., how does that help with your self-esteem? And I know it sounds really ambitious, but we would love Disability Pride Month to be as celebratory as Pride Month the month before.
Is the journey just as important as the goal?
Yeah, definitely. The journey brings people in and it raises the awareness. It's all well and good just doing an event for 2 days, but if you don't actively promote what your message is in the lead up and beyond, then you're just an event.
Jade, Kat, I can't thank you guys enough for joining us. We are, as the Grumpy Gits, so proud that we've got this alliance and partnership.
We're really glad to have to be partnered with you as well. You guys are great.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to head back over to the main podcast now, back to past Adam hosting because he's not here.
You know what? I like past Adam and past Chris. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, future Adam and future Chris, also great people. But we were both on form that day, Chris. We were both completely on form. Anyway, we now need to go into the news, do we not? So we're going to hand back to the lovely people at the Disability Expo to tell us what are the happy haps and the tappy claps. Let's do this.
Disability Expo will be the largest person-focused event in the UK, with the emphasis solely on people with lived experience of disability. It will be a free-to-attend 2-day event at Expo in London on the 6th and 7th of July 2023 at the start of Disability Pride Month, officially opened by disability advocate Baroness Tanny Gray Thompson. We will deliver entertaining, informative and inclusive content, as well as the opportunity to network with like-minded people and browse the latest range of trusted products and services. We want all attendees to feel centre stage. We will deliver entertaining and inclusive content from a variety of acts. The People's Panel will be a forum-style theatre where pressing issues and key topics will be discussed by key influential and knowledgeable panellists. We are dedicated to bringing you a range of trusted mobility, mobilisation and moving and handling devices to suit all individual needs and budgets. Our Access Your Home area will showcase products for assistive living and examples of creative and accessible design for you to try out in a realistic home environment. We have a dedicated area for you to find your zen and calm your senses. Sensory Zone will offer a tranquil, accessible, quiet sensory space for all ages and abilities. See, feel and try out products in our marketplace. Improve your daily living, well-being, comfort and even style. Join us on our journey of raising awareness of disability rights and inclusion by attending Disability Expo, following our social media and supporting the I Matter movement.
Now, in the news this week was an article, or dare I say investigation, by the actor Tommy Jessup of Line of Duty fame, looking at the astonishingly high number of presentable deaths within the disabled community. And the figure, even in and of itself, is somewhat arresting for me. But when compared to our non-disabled counterparts, it drives the point home still further. So I'd like to know, did any of you see the same article that I did? And what are your thoughts on it? I'm going to throw to the qualified journalist first. I'm Duncan.
I did read this, and it astounds me that in this day and age, a section of society has to face this prejudice and this injustice. And it really strikes home. This is going to come up on a future episode, but I had the chance to catch up with a chap today whose father is in jail, whose father is in hospital, having been beaten up in the streets of Manchester. And he's a Sikh, and just the racial prejudice that he's faced. And we're supposed to be in a society now that's really overcome this. To a large degree. Yes, we've got a long way to go. We all know that. But the understanding of prejudice is really there. We've had the Me Too movement. We've had the Black Lives Matter movement. And yet here we are with anybody with a disability of any description going into hospital and facing what's a huge discrepancy in the rate of deaths to non-disabled people, to disabled people. And it scares me. It really worries me that we're in this society that allows this to happen, and then it's largely gone unchecked until, as I say, this guy did this investigation into it. I mean, I really want to hear from you and Simon on this, because you guys are on the front line of this, I guess.
Simon, what do you think the root of this problem is? And where are the boundaries between, I suppose, a lack of empathy, discrimination, and what, if allowed to go unchecked, as Duncan said, could become another form of eugenics?
See, today there is prejudice against disabled people because they see us as a bother rather than an inclusive, experienced community. If you make one place accessible for one person, you make it accessible for all, but not everyone thinks like that. And so I'm discriminated against because I'm in a wheelchair. I'm discriminated against pretty much every day I want to go out into the community, or I want to book a hotel room or something along those lines. The society does not accept disabled people that well. And that's why you end up going back to the same places. With regards to what Tommy was reporting, am I surprised? I mean, I've seen this firsthand through social services. I worked for social services for years, and I visited places, I've investigated places, and it is absolutely horrific. We've suspended people, we've fired people, we've taken people to court on the treatment of people with disabilities. in care homes, in residential care homes, people who foster disabled people, people with disabilities. It's not an isolated incident. It's been going on for years, and I'm very happy that it has been recorded and highlighted by Tommy. And I say well done to you, because it has brought it to the front and centre, which needs to be addressed as soon as possible, not just by this council or this private company who did this, but by nationally. And there needs to be prosecutions for those members of staff who were dragging people around, who were locking them in rooms, who were treating them like, effectively like pets and animals in an establishment. I'm very concerned about going into an NHS hospital with a disability, because previously it's not really been successful for me. The treatment I get, I don't feel is adequate, and so we do take out private health insurance as well, private healthcare, because of this, because we are treated as second-class citizens, even in an establishment like the NHS, which does do things brilliantly well, but in certain hospitals where I've been, I don't think the treatment is up to standard, and I have grave concerns going into establishments where I've spent months, in those establishments.
Do you think, though, this is representative of a bigger issue? I was with Adam on the week during the week, and we were out at London Bridge. He took me out to a really nice German pub, and we had some great food and some great conversation. We were walking back for me to get a taxi back to my hotel, and there's this woman just standing there. And she sort of waved at us and kind of, we thought, friendly, both of us sort of waved back, hey, how's it going? Carried on walking in. She just looked at me and said, oh, it's Halloween already.
Oh, Jesus.
And we didn't twig what she'd really said. We were kind of like, both of us sort of, and we sort of got about 10 steps forward. And Adam said to me, I just realised what she said. And I said, yeah, so did I. I really want to go back and say something. And to Adam's credit, he's like, no, don't. Just leave it. It's 6:30 in the afternoon and she's drunk outside a chapel in London. Who's winning here? And it was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I've got to say, one of the greatest things about Adam is that he deals with this shit every day. We've seen responses to him on MasterChef and all that kind of, and the way that he deals with it is expert and really shines the light really back on the people that are doing this shit. But it's an underlying attitude that if I was black and I was walking by and she'd made a racist comment, she'd have had all hell pulled down upon her. But because she was making it about somebody with a disability, it gets brushed under the carpet. It's you can get away with that. It's not given the same. It's an ism that isn't given the same level of respect as other isms, and it drives me nuts. And I think this is something that reflects in that kind of thing. Why is it these people are going to hospital and getting treated so much worse, that the mortality rate is so much higher? And I think it's a reflection of a bigger societal issue.
And what was stunning about that situation as well is that there were other people around who more than likely heard it and more than likely clocked it, maybe even before myself and you clocked it, and no one else did anything either. Whereas I think you're right, if it had been like a racism thing or a homophobic thing or a Islamophobic thing, someone would have definitely stepped in and been like, wind your neck in, sweetheart.
Somebody would have caught it on camera and it would be going viral by now,
Completely. I'm with Simon to a degree as someone who navigates the NHS quite a lot, but also has somewhat of a reputation of not to be shortchanged or messed around with. And I've had the same medical team around me for quite some time now. I've been quite lucky in that regard. I do sometimes have a certain degree of empathy for people who are new to this, who don't know the system, who fall into that 80% of people who acquire their disability, who are trying to not only get used to their life as it is now, but also get used to a world that simply isn't built to have them in it, and more often than not doesn't want to have them in it. And I think it's does the system need fixing? Absolutely. But I don't think we talk about resilience enough. either. I don't think we empower the disabled community enough to pull their socks up and be like, no, hang on for a second. This isn't how I'm willing to be treated. And unless you can raise your standards, because I'm sure as hell not lowering I'm not going to lower my standards because society refuses to raise theirs. So you've got two options: raise your standards, or we're going to have a really difficult conversation that no one else is going to like.
I can give you two experiences, and they are completely different. So one's really bad, and one's absolutely ridiculous. We and Kate were just going for a walk, as we do most evenings, and the neighbour came out. I was in my wheelchair, and he came out and patted me on the head and said, "It's nice to see you out and about." And he was walking his dog. He basically treated me like an animal, and I said, "Get your hands off me." And that's quite, that's shocking. What would you go up to another person in the street and pat them on the head? Probably not. The last one actually happened at Hyde Park at the Queen's funeral. So we were watching the big screens. I was there with Kate and my parents and my cousin, and I was sitting in my electric wheelchair, okay, and a woman came up to me out of the blue, and she says, "Excuse me, I don't mean to be disrespectful," which means you're going to be disrespectful, okay? And she said, "Would you mind tucking in your arms?" And I'm like, how do you tuck in your arms? I mean, because she said, first you were sitting like that, and then you were sitting like that, and then you were sitting like that. And I go, I'm not a dummy. I move around, like a normal person does. And she goes, and I go, she actually carried on for a minute or so saying, "Yes, but I don't want to be disrespectful to you." And I went, "You are being disrespectful to me. How do you expect me to tuck in my arms and sit in one position for 2.5 hours or 3 hours?"
What you should have said is, I don't mean to imply you're an ignorant cow, but ...
My mum and stepdad Mark were absolutely shocked that someone came up and asked me to do this. It was a busy pot, but she could have just moved a foot to the side. It wasn't difficult. And this is like the stupid things we have to put up with on a daily basis or on a regular basis, and it's just horrendous. And it should never happen. And we can go back to Strictly and Ellen, all the vile things that she gets. And I worry about Adam quite a lot because he sends me all the things he gets on social media as well. And, keyboard warriors. And, every time he gets sent something, it needs to be reported to the police. They need to take action. And we live in a society where nothing, again, coming back to the racial slur, if it was a racial slur against Adam, that person would be prosecuted.
Maybe it's for hate crimes. That's just it. It's a hate crime. Why is it not the same for ableism?
It's not treated the same. For people with disability, it's not treated the same. And it should be. And it needs to be. It will stop it overnight or reduce it, at least reduce it overnight. I'll tell you
a conversation I had today with my daughter where she wants to... I'm trying to get her into a sport, something that she can enjoy, get out a bit and do stuff. And the thing that's holding her back, and she said it to me, is that I don't want to go because I'm different and they'll all laugh at me. She's 12 and she's facing that. And she hasn't got an overtly obvious disability. She's neurodivergent. It shouldn't even be a fucking disability, to be quite honest with you. It just needs the world to adapt a little bit and, hey presto, not disabled. But the reality is it's made a disability by our society. But that's how she feels at 12. And this isn't going to stop for the rest of her life. And it cripples me inside. It brings me to tears, quite genuinely. What are your thoughts, Chris, being, again, a Sendale, I suppose?
It is being adjacent, but as a father, it petrifies me. It scares the living hell at me. It keeps me awake at night. Just some of the things that I know he's going to experience. And to think through that some of those scenarios, just having an interaction with someone that isn't going to cater for him in the smallest manner, saying the wrong thing, not knowing that he's autistic, it travels down. We've been led all this time to think that how they treat disabled people is okay. I think we were on the right track coming into 2000, and if we'd have carried on with that trajectory, we would have been a lot closer to where we need to be. But because of, it's like right-wing news channels and it's free speech brigade, everybody's a comedian. Everybody can joke about whatever they want, and there's no ramifications. And the butt of the joke is the disabled community. But I honestly, I don't know where to go with it.
No, one of the worst things that happened for me, and it always... Donald Trump is giving a speech at a conference. Okay, not only is he throwing the Muslim community out, but he's also taken the mick out of the reporter who's got one of the, I won't do it, but he started shaking his hand and impersonated a disabled reporter. And it makes me sick every time that video pops up that he's impersonating that thing. And this is was the president of the United States. And for me, that put disability back, especially in America, a long way when he basically authorized people to take the piss out of people with disabilities. He said it's okay to do it because the president's done it.
Exactly. People in major power are given the green light for society to do these things, and it's not on. It really isn't. In fact, we've got an interview with the Labour Disability Shadow Secretary.
Shadow Sec, yes.
Yeah. And, looking at the polls and everything, it may look like Labour come into power. So, some of these questions are going to be asked of what's going to change. And I'll be extremely interested to see what she's got in mind to change how things are at the moment.
Are we being woke here? Or too woke? And also, furthermore, when people say woke, what the hell do they mean?
Woke's just a ticket to get yourself out of something. It's the label you put on if you want to dismiss something. Yeah, it's just woke. And it's just bollocks. If you've got an opinion and you're fighting for any kind of minority, you're just woke. You're just woke. It pisses me off. Interesting. Rosie Jones did a tweet today where she'd done it one of your tricks, Adam. She didn't address him. She just snapshotted his tweet and added it to it. But it was about her sexuality. But it was this really underhanded, subtle.
It was bizarre, wasn't it?
It was just,
Oh, yeah. It was nuts.
And, that's the problem as well, is this stuff gets, you're woke if you address this stuff. And she addressed it brilliantly. And I don't think you could accuse Rosie Jones of being woke in any level. But it's just, if you stand up for something you believe in, you're being woke. It is now the trump card that just gets played. So you brought up an argument, you show your reasons for it, you're articulate, you're genuine, you're making sense. Woke. It's the trump card that goes on top. It's the joker in the pack. And off it goes.
And how do we then counteract that? Because it is the catchphrase of the more than likely the GB News brigade, and I look forward to hearing what white able-bodied straight John Cleese has to say about all of these issues with great trepidation and anticipation. A man who's not done anything of meaning since halfway through Monty Python.
We started a war with GB News now because I am well up for it.
Maybe that should be the trump card that gets the Trump card, if you like. You're woke. You're GB News.
I don't think that there is a need for a counter on the word woke and people using it as an attack, because I just don't think it works anymore. I think people are starting to pay more attention to what's out there. When something comes through, they're reading deeper. So when someone uses the term woke, people are looking a little bit further in and realizing, you know what, that the word woke is being used as an attack that's completely empty. They're trying to appeal to someone's anger. The culture wars.
That's it.
So they're trying to appeal, and only the low IQ are buying into it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
They would rather be lazy and buy into it with their big patriotic GB flags, flag shaggers as I call them, than actually look at the actual issue.
In the end, you've got to bring it back to the issue, isn't it? Yeah, maybe it's woke, but this many people are dying in hospitals because of ableism. So fuck your woke, fuck your ignorance. Here's the reality.
Yep.
Yeah, the disability pay gap's 18%, and I just happened to mention it on Twitter, and I'm the bad guy. How does that work? Oh, thank God for the press were there to film Meghan and Harry laying flowers at this thing. Well, mind you, I'm going to have 4 goes at putting flowers down outside Buckingham Palace, and then pray like that. He strikes me as a man that's got a Hillary for President mug for the first time round at the back of his kitchen cupboard and just doesn't mention it. In fact, I know for a fact he's got one because my old boss bought it for him. And he went, "Thank you, I love it," and went home. Mm-hmm. And with that, gentlemen, we come to the end of another fantastic episode of the Grumpy Gits. As always, thank you for joining me in this cavalcade of chaos. Mr. Duncan Casburn, if people want to follow you on the socials, not in real life, that's illegal, don't do it, what can they do?
Just look up PDA Dad UK under any of the socials, that's where you'll find me.
Chris Lee Smith, if people want to follow you on Twitter, read what you put, and realise that what I said at the start of the show, actually, spot on, what can they do?
It is true, to be it's at the real Grump Dad.
And Mr. Simon Sampson, if people want to know more about you, find your work, join the Snowball community, and also learn how to run large tech companies, what can they do?
Download the Snowball app under Snowball Community on Apple and Android. Also Ability Access on Facebook and Twitter. And that's it.
Fantastic. You can find me on the old Twitter machine at Adam_Pearson. And you can watch me in my new show, Mind the Gap, playing platform games very badly on Twitch, twitch.tv/Adam Pearson TV. So, from me, Adam Pearson, from him, Duncan Casburn, from him, Chris Lee Smith, and him, Simon Sampson, thank you for coming. See you on the next one. We couldn't bear to be without you. And as always, don't be grumpy alone.